Can you imagine the fear and helplessness African slaves felt as they were exploited by their white masters? Did the exploitations include harassment, or did it go beyond just that? And above all, how disgusting and horrifying was all of this? Ladies and gentlemen, join us as we uncover this dark chapter in history and reflect on the 5 horrifying facts how male slaves were exploited. The transatlantic slave trade, spanning over 4 centuries, was a dark period in human history. It forever scarred the hearts and minds of countless Africans, tearing them away from their homes, families, and identities. But the worst cases of exploitation came straight flying to the men. Let's get into it right now. Number 5. Sexual exploitation. Enslaved African men faced unspeakable abuse, including sexual abuse at the hands of their white masters, overseers, and merchants. These horrifying acts occurred both on slave ships during the transatlantic journey and on secret plantations. Enslaved men were often taken advantage of by male slave owners, subjected to sexual violence with little hope of escaping such cruelty. Imagine the unspeakable fear and helplessness they must have faced as they endured this violation, unable to speak out or seek justice. Reporting such abuse was incredibly difficult due to power dynamics and fear of retaliation, making it hard for society to acknowledge their pain. Number 4. Buck breaking. This cruel and sadistic practice was used by white supremacists and slave owners to assert dominance and humiliate enslaved men. As rebellions and uprisings threatened the status quo, they sought to exert control through terror and degradation. Enslaved African men were subjected to public floggings, their bodies brutally punished in front of an assembled crowd, often including other slaves. This dehumanizing spectacle reduced them to objects of amusement and terror. But the ordeal didn't stop there. The enslaved men would then be raped by a white man, often the slave owner or a designated bug breaker. The intent behind the sexual violence was to assert dominance over the enslaved individual, reinforce the power dynamics of slavery, and send a chilling message to other slaves who might dare to challenge their oppressive conditions. Number 3. Breeding farms. The abolitionist movement posed a challenge for plantation owners who faced shortages in labor as efforts to curtail the transatlantic slave trade and emancipate enslaved individuals gained momentum. In their desperation to maintain their economic interests and meet market demands, some turned to creating breeding farms. These farms were specifically designed to exploit the sexuality of enslaved African men, chosen for their physical strength and reproductive potential. They were subjected to unimaginable sexual abuse, made to engage in sexual acts with multiple women every day, with the aim of increasing the likelihood of impregnation. The forced incest upon slave families, where slaves were given hoods or bags over their heads to keep them from knowing whom they were having forced sex with, further exacerbated the horrors of these breeding farms. Number 2. Castration and genital mutilation. Enslaved men were seen as threats to the power structure due to their strength, vitality, and potential to challenge the hierarchical system of oppression. To control them, castration was often employed as a form of punishment, subjugation, and psychological control. Enslaved African men were castrated in response to alleged sexual transgressions, such as being caught in bed with a white master's wife or daughter. This brutal act aimed to emasculate and dehumanize the individual while asserting the dominance of the white master. Just imagine the physical and emotional pain they had to endure, knowing that their very manhood was being taken away to strip them of their humanity. Number 1. Entertaining sex. Throughout history, enslaved African men were treated as sexual objects by white supremacists, wealthy merchants, and aristocrats. They were stripped of their dignity and humanity, forced to endure a wide array of sexual abuses and acts of degradation. One particularly degrading practice was the public display of enslaved men's bodies for the amusement of white viewers. These men were made to line up naked, their sexual organs exposed, as they were scrutinized, laughed at, and discussed by their white masters and spectators. This blatant objectification perpetuated the notion of African men as subordinate beings, perpetuating a culture of white dominance and black subjugation. The psychological trauma inflicted on these men through such public degradation must have been immense, leaving scars that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Their endurance in the face of unimaginable cruelty is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to persevere. It's vital to combat racism and promote equality in our society today. We must confront the dark legacy of slavery and its impact on the lives of African descendants, working together to build a more just and compassionate world. Thank you all for joining us on this journey of discovery. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the awareness of this dark chapter in history. Until next time.